Mr. President, it is a good day here in the United States Senate because today we released our tax reform legislation, and soon we hope to have a final bill on the President's desk. Now, Mr. President, when you first think about coming to Washington to serve, you dream about fixing big problems and making a real difference in people's lives. Well, Mr. President, today we get to make a big difference. And I hearken back, I looked in the chamber here, to 1986, the last time the tax reform was actually passed through the Senate and signed into law by the President. Senator Hatch, the chairman of our committee, was a member of the Senate at that time. Senator McConnell, the Republican leader, Senator Grassley, who you just heard from, were all here to vote on that. I was here as a young staffer. At that time, I didn't have kids of my own. And today I'm a grandfather. So a lot of time has passed, and tax reform is long overdue. But the whole point of this exercise, Mr. President, is to give hope to future generations of Americans, to give them a better opportunity and a better life, to improve their standard of living and their quality of life. And in order for that to happen, we need to be taking the steps here, putting policies in place that will create the conditions that are favorable to economic growth, to the creation of better paying jobs and higher wages. Today, Mr. President, we get to bring relief to the parents who are wondering if they'll be able to afford a new car that they need to fit their growing family. Today, we get to bring relief to the single mom who's wondering how she's going to pay the rent next month. As our colleague from South Carolina talked about, those parents and families that are literally living paycheck to paycheck. Today, we get to bring relief to the middle-aged couple worrying about a secure retirement. To the small business owner who doesn't know how he can meet his tax bill and still make his mortgage payment. To the family farmer who's worried that he won't be able to pass down his farm to his daughter. Mr. President, the comprehensive tax reform legislation that we've introduced today will provide immediate, direct relief to hardworking Americans. It will immediately increase their take-home pay. And it will immediately simplify the tax code so that it's easier for Americans to figure out what benefits they qualify for, and so they don't have to spend a lot of time and money filing their taxes. But, Mr. President, that's really just the beginning. Our bill is also going to reform the business side of the tax code to give Americans access to the jobs, to the wages, and to the opportunities that will set them up for a secure future. We're going to make it easier for small businesses to raise wages and to hire new workers. We're going to end the outdated tax framework that is driving American companies to keep jobs and profits overseas. And we're going to make it easier for companies to invest in American jobs and American workers. Mr. President, it's been a rough few years for our economy and for the American people. A lot of Americans haven't had a pay raise, literally, in almost a decade. But with this tax reform legislation, we can ensure that it doesn't stay that way. The American people deserve a tax code that works for them and not against them, that grows their paychecks instead of shrinking them, that expands their opportunities instead of eliminating them. And that's exactly what we're going to give them starting today. Mr. President, I yield the floor.